Everybody, welcome to Recurrent. I wanted to talk today about formats, physical media, music formats. And there's a lot of talk about which are best. And you can obviously, you can think more than one is for you. I always like to say who's right and who's wrong, everyone and no one when it comes to formats. So we're gonna talk about vinyl, which to me, because I'm been around a while, it is records, uh, cassette, CD, downloads, digital files, and streaming. And so, as far as vinyl is concerned, that's how I started listening to music when I was a child. I also had cassettes and eight tracks. We're not going to talk about eight tracks because they're not really a viable format anymore. Um, and like most people, vinyl always seemed like back in the day when I was much younger, vinyl always seemed like the ultimate format. If you had it on vinyl, then it really meant that you had it. Um, and then CDs came around, and CDs, when they happened, it was very much for people who could only afford, modest equipment, maybe a turntable that maybe cost like $150 and, just a component system, not a high-end component system. When CDs came around, that was a really big deal for us. No more intergroove distortion, no more worries about skips or dropping the record at a party, all of those things. So, it is a little bit head scratchy that vinyl came back. I started listening to vinyl again, I would say probably low key 2008, didn't really dove into it in a big way around 2011. And the way I feel about it is this is my advice to anybody who is a CD collector and who is thinking about starting to collect vinyl. My advice to you is don't. I don't think that it's a worthwhile endeavor at this point to start buying vinyl. New vinyl is very expensive. A lot of people talk about new vinyl having quality control issues. I've been lucky. That doesn't really happen so much with me, but for a lot of people it does. One of the things I think that happens is for younger people who don't know a lot about vinyl, they don't understand that vinyl is a imperfect format. So the way the equipment is designed is uh, to 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 soften the bumps from a vinyl record that's not completely flat. And so a lot of people, I think, who perceive that there are quality control issues don't understand that a piece of vinyl doesn't need to be flat. And if it has a bump in it or a warp in it and your turntable can weather the storm, then that's probably a piece of vinyl that you need to keep and not send back. So anyway, okay. I'll get off my soapbox now on that particular issue. But happening for me is that I have gone through quite a few turntables. Gosh, I started with I won't talk about what I had when I was in high school, but when I got back into vinyl, I started with a thrift store techniques and SLD2, which is a very nice turntable. I got it for $4, $4 written with a grease pencil on the plinth. This is probably 2006, 2007. Those days are gone, by the way. Don't go looking for $4 Technics turntables at the thrift store. I had that for a while, upgraded to, oh gosh, probably I think my first really good turntable after that was a Music Hall 2.2, which had uh, some issues with vibration and making the woofers jump and so I really had trouble with that. I considered getting a shelf for it to get it up off the floor because I lived in a house that was on a crawl space, and so it was very sensitive to movement. And so I went and I eventually got the first generation of the AT120, the Audio Technica, and then I went to I believe a project debut Carbon and bounced around between that and a Audio Technica. I think I had three carbons. I always had trouble with hum issues, and I eventually ended up after trying a whole bunch of things. I've had a U-turn orbit, which I actually like. I've had quite a few things, but what I have now is a Technics SL 1200 Mark 7, which is the new version of the SL 1200 Mark 2. There was a Mark 3 and a Mark 4 and Mark 6, but this is the new version of that, made by Technics. Made. It says Techniques on it. They over the course of the years, they got rid of all the tooling that they took for making turntables, so they eventually had to, kind of re-engineer the thing. So a lot of people think it is as good as a classic Techniques. A lot of people think it's not as good as a classic Techniques. I can see some shortcuts that they took, but what I'm getting to, this is a whole lot of information. Let me break it down to this. Trying to chase the best sound out of vinyl, if you don't have $20,000, is not a worthwhile endeavor, and I don't recommend that you do it. That's going to make my friend Grant from Grant's Rock Warehouse very happy because he's always saying, just get the CD and it's all you need. Vinyl is great fun. It's very nostalgic for me. It's fun to talk about the variants and look at the labels and the dead wax and all of that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. When I go to a record store, I always want to buy something on vinyl because it's fun to pick up and touch, to open it up. Hey, play this for me. That's great fun. But if you haven't started doing it and you don't already have it in your blood like I do, don't. That's my advice to you. One of the things that has really been interesting to me in the last couple of years is a couple of people that I watch on YouTube, Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility and Brendan Snyder from his channel, has been one of my current favorite channels. And one of the things that they talk about is that because CDs are lower priced, you can get a lot more music for a lot less money. So if you want to own uh, physical media, and we're going to talk about streaming in a little while. If you want to own physical media, CD is really the way to go. I really do think it is. Not only do you get just, typical jewel case, releases, there's digipack releases, which I don't like as much, but as long as the physical products keep coming, I'm happy with that. There's deluxe box sets, which I don't dabble in too much, but one of the things I really like is these sets like this. This is all the Bearsville albums from Todd Rundgren, and it's really hard to see because it's blue on tan. But anyway, this is a really nice set. All the ones that are gatefold, that were gatefold back in the day on vinyl, are gatefold on the CDs. So, and they have spines. So there's something anything, and that's the inside of something anything, which is correct. And the CDs look like the records. I think I didn't hold that right. I'm gonna get comments. So. So anyway, that's a lot of fun. My favorite one of those is the Doors collection right here, which is really nice. This is all of the 40th anniversary Bruce Botnick uh, uh, remasters, and you get a little booklet inside, and each record looks correct. It looks like the records did. I'll try to hold this one a little better, but they've all got period correct labels on them. So Rhino did this set, by the way. So the Doors is that color, and by the time you get to LA Woman, you have a butterfly label, and so. Really nicely done. I really appreciate sets like this. A lot of times after they've been out a while, they're discounted. I think I got this one for like $22. You really can't beat that. Um, there are these sets right here that come in the little cardboard sleeves. This one is Kansas. So it's got, if you wanted to quickly put together a Kansas collection, you could get this one. If you can tell what records those are the best ones to have. And these are the remaster versions of the records with the bonus tracks on them, and each one comes in a sleeve that looks like the album. And one of the things that's really great about these is that the prices can vary wildly between like $30 all the way down to like 14 and $12, depending on what stock is like and whether or not they're still in print or out of print. So those are a lot of fun, and some of them are even a little bit nicer. This Styx one right here actually comes again. You don't want to buy five Styx albums; those are five good ones to get. This one comes in actually a hardcover box that's shiny, and again, they look like the records and. These particular ones are, I wish they had just regular A&M labels, but they have really nice labels. It's a really nice set. And there's a Rush set right here. And the good thing about this Rush set, this is the studio albums 1989 to 2007. For this set, Presto has been remastered again, and it's probably the best version of Presto. So this is great. I mean, look at all you get on this one. I don't know what I paid for this, $32 or something like that. It's a steal compared to buying vinyl. So there's some talk about whether or not amongst audiophiles, whether or not digital music causes listener fatigue. I have read a lot about that and have done a lot of research on it, and I'm not sure I buy it. I don't think it happens to me. A lot of people say, if you listen to vinyl, and you listen to vinyl, it's all analog from start to finish, that you don't get the kind of listener fatigue that you get from digital. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I know there's going to be some people in the comments saying, well, it's not up to you to believe, it's true. But I have never experienced that. To me, listening to vinyl introduces artifacts that I can hear that spoil the listening experience for me, especially if it's something that I know as there's my Todd Rundgren shirt that I'm really proud of. It was all folded up. Um, Especially if it's something that came out in the 90s that I know it from CD, a band like, say, The Ocean Blue or Guster or something like that, where all you've known is CDs since it came out, and then you listen to them on vinyl, and you kind of, at least I do, I kind of think, well, that's supposed to be on a CD. Doesn't sound right on vinyl. So again, your mileage may vary, but given the if I was asked to decide, I think CD is the way to go. I'm trying to move my purchasing habits from the more less towards vinyl and more towards CD. I doubt I could get rid of all of my vinyl, but I have purged my collection in the past in a pretty big way. And one of the things that's very tempting about it is even if you want to uh, just sell your vinyl to the local used record store, even though you get less money that way from putting it on Discogs or selling it on eBay, which by the way is a lot of work. Um, Even if you get less than money for selling it, if you've got a good collection, you could make two, three, $4,000 selling records to a record store. I have done that. I have not made that much money, but I have made I think the most I made by selling a chunk of my collection was about $1,200. So, if somebody gives you, say, for a good new album, like a prog rock album or a prog metal album that's, double vinyl and 180 gram, the local store I go to gives you between 12 and 14 for each one of those, which of course is like, well, that's less than half of what I paid for it. But you add that up, you bring a stack like this, you add that up, you're at $500 in no time. So, when you've got bills to pay and cars you want to pay off and stuff like that, CDs start looking really good. Um, One other thing I want to say about CD is there's a lot of talk about, and it pops up every once in a while. There is quite a few videos where people talk about this, uh, and it is something that a lot of people do to save space when their CD collections get too huge. And one of the things that they do is they either put them in boxes, or they put them in pocket boxes, or big vinyl, big uh, binders like this. So I'm going to open up this binder here. I did this about a year and a half ago. I was living in a condominium. I was running out of space. So I took my CD collection and I put it in two of these. I think each one holds 240. So I kept everything that was in a digipack or in a box and in some well, but everything that was in a jewel case I took and I put in these books. You can see here it's not I didn't just put in the crappy ones. You can see some good ones going by here. But anyway, here's my advice to you on that. Don't. Uh, absolutely do not do this. There are certain ways to do it where you keep everything. Phil Aston did a really good episode of Now Spinning where he talked about how he bought these little sleeves where you can keep not only the art but the little J card or U card on the back, and there's a place for it, and then it becomes really thin, and you can file it away in boxes. If you keep everything, then you won't be sorry if you decide that you want to go back to jewel cases. You can buy some, you can start by saying, okay, I'm going to put all my favorite CDs back in jewel cases, and you could do that. I did that once in the early 2000s. I put my collection, CDs and binders and booklets and little file boxes, and but I kept the little back cards, and I eventually ended up putting all of those CDs back in the boxes. This time, a year and a half ago, when I put them in these binders, I kept the booklets, but I did not keep the back cards. And I sent them, I recycled all those boxes. And don't do that. You'll be sorry, I promise. You'd be better off getting rid of the collection. You'd be better off donating the collection, and if you're going to switch to streaming, than you would by keeping only part of this package, because you will always feel like it's incomplete. So that's my advice to you. Don't do that. There are people who will argue with me who will say, I've done that and it's great. Everything fits in my in a lot of space. I have more music and less space, but I'm telling you from my heart, don't. Um, Boy, I'm on a lot of soapboxes on this one. Um, so there's also cassette. And let me tell you something. Here's the problem with cassettes and the so-called cassette revival. Um, there are no good cassette decks that you can buy now. All of that, all of that tooling and all of that stuff has been eliminated from most manufacturers. And any manufacturer that's making a new cassette deck right now is using a cheap uh, uh, in modern day version, very much stripped back of the cheapest cassette mechanism you can buy. Even if it says Marantz on it or TIAC, it is still just a souped up cheap cassette player. If you're going to have one, I have a Nakamichi BX100. Um, that was uh refurbished. I got it for about $300. That's the way to go. Go online, spend about $300 or $400, get a Sony ES or a Nakamichi or if you have a lot of money, a Pioneer or some of the better Techniques decks. But you will have problems. My Nakamichi it won't record. It records with a lot of noise. Not that I necessarily need to record anymore on cassettes. Back in the day, I had a lot of fun, trying out all the different cassette formulations and seeing which one was better than which one. And that was a lot of fun, but there's not really any practical purpose to do that anymore. I thought that I would, about 6 years ago, I thought I would get back into making mixtapes and then I would do it, and then I would end up with a bunch of tapes that I didn't listen to. So, but anyway, so my Nakamichi needs a repair. It needs there's the contacts in one of the relays needs to be opened up and cleaned, and I just have to get around to doing that. So anyway, I spent $300 on a refurbished cassette deck, and it still had an issue. So, but I have heard some people talk about how the new cassettes are not any good. So, very interesting thing about cassettes. Dolby has stopped licensing their technology. So basically, any pre-recorded cassettes you get from any label are going to be non-Dolbyized. Now, one of the things that I learned as I got older was that Dolby noise reduction is really hit or miss. You don't have to have it. It doesn't 100% eliminate hiss, and listening to tapes that are recorded without Dolby don't necessarily sound overly hissy. So, There's a lot of talk out there about newer cassettes like this Porcupine Tree Closure continuation not sounding good. Why would you do that? Why would you buy that on cassette? Well, obviously, I have this on other formats too. The cassettes are cheaper. That's a piece of plastic film instead of a plastic window. This one has one, but some of them don't have the little metal piece behind the pad there. This particular box doesn't have the little things that keep the tape from the little hubs there to keep the tapes from spinning out when they're in the box. But I will tell you something. This cassette sounds like $1 million. This cassette sounds really good. So it's not true that they don't sound good. It's just true that unless you're an enthusiast for the equipment, then cassettes are really not a viable option. And I have some. I had put together a Marillion collection. It's kind of fun. Here's Brave right here, and it's really cool to have this as a collector. And I have about seven Marillion cassettes, but there's really no reason to play them when I can play the CDs or the vinyl. I personally am into downloads and digital files. I think that there's still a place for that, and especially if you want to collect a lot of music on the cheap and you want more money to go to emerging artists that are, aren't aren't worth $1 million. Downloads can be a very viable option. Downloading albums off Bandcamp. I have a couple of friends who buy a lot of vinyl, but they also download a lot of files from Bandcamp. And so, if streaming is not for you, if you'd like to own something, downloading files, I think is totally fine. And I also don't let anybody bully you into thinking that if you're gonna rip CDs or you're gonna download files, that you absolutely have to have the top quality, that you absolutely have to have FLAC or WAVE because storage is cheap. Um, don't listen to that. If you can't tell the difference, I'm 61 years old. If you can't tell the difference between a 320K MP3 and a FLAC file, don't waste time and space and money collecting FLAC files. Whatever works for you is is just fine. And now we come to streaming. You may be surprised to learn that I stream a lot. Uh, I I have a YouTube Music account. You get one free when you do YouTube Premium, and YouTube Premium allows you to watch YouTube videos without any YouTube inserted commercials, which for the love of God, do that. I promise you it's the best $11 a month that you'll ever spend. But I've never had Spotify. I have had Apple Music, and pe those who know me know that I have a love-hate relationship with Apple, mostly hate. And I have unappled myself in the recent weeks. And now I'm relying only on YouTube Music as my streaming service. You can do playlists, you can do whatever you want. You can upload things that aren't available and they show up in your collection, and you can add them to playlists. And then everything you do, ends up on your phone and you can listen to it in your car. Uh, these kinds of advantages to streaming are really worthwhile. And even if you only want to use it just to check something out, to figure out if you want to buy it, that's fine too. That's probably worth $10 a month to do that. But this is what I have to say to young people who really, a lot of them have only known streaming. There are a lot of us old folks who will try to shame you, and they'll try to say, uh, you know, you're stealing from artists unless you're buying physical media. It's physical product or nothing at all. And my advice to people who enjoy streaming is this. It's not up to you to save the music business. It's not your responsibility. If streaming works for you and you don't have the budget to collect music on physical formats, don't feel guilty about streaming. It's not on you. I don't think that that's fair. You will never hear me say it's physical or nothing. I don't think that that's right. I think that people should use whatever gets them to listen to music. I think is works. Would I like for the streaming model to be more to 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 pay artists more? Of course I would. Is that going to get fixed? I'm not sure. It may never get fixed, but I think it's probably here to stay. And I think having access to a streaming service and picking, don't do what I did, picking one physical media format and sticking with it and buying the things that you like the most, buying the things that where you'd like to send a couple of bucks to an artist, to their way, then I think that's probably the way to go. So that's really all I have to say about formats. Thanks for watching this. Like and subscribe, hit the notifications bell if you want to, and we will see you on the next one.